Welcome to another episode of the Money Classroom. I'm your host, Keisha Bailey, also known as Keisha the Teacher. Class is in session. No matter your age, stage, or wage, you are inside the Money Classroom to learn how money works and to take these lessons to make your money grow and work for you. For those who are new to me and new to this show, new to the channel, I am an investment strategist and educator with over 18 years of experience in the local and international financial markets. I've managed billions of dollars on behalf of clients, and these days I am living my passion, which is to empower individuals just like you and investors just like you to turn the money you have into the money you want. Make sure you guys head over to my website, profitjumpstarter.com/newsletter to subscribe to our weekly newsletter if you want lots of investing tips and strategies. When you sign up for the newsletter, you also receive my Multiply Your Money guide. Inside that guide, you're going to get all the information to be able to eliminate your debt struggles or your money problems and to learn how to build wealth faster. Also, a lot of you guys watching, you're not subscribed to the channel. Please go and hit that subscribe button. We need to grow our platform to reach as many persons as possible and spread the good news around financial education. Not only, it shouldn't be you alone making money, but bring your friends as well along for the journey. We are here to build sustainable wealth. So as much as you're able to learn, tell other person as well, and make sure you subscribe to our channel. Now, where's everyone joining us from tonight? Drop in the chat. Let me know where you guys are joining from. Hit the like button, share the video. Let me know where you're representing from tonight. And in the meanwhile, we're going to have our disclaimer. The information provided on this show is for general entertainment and education purposes only. No information, materials, services, and other content provided on this show constitute solicitation, recommendation, endorsement, or any financial investment or other advice. Seek independent professional consultation in the form of legal, financial, and investment advice before making any investment decision. All right, so we have Limitless Podcast inside the Money Classroom. Big up yourself. Welcome. We have Dina K. James. Good to be here as well. Welcome, Dina K. from Old Harbor, Orville. Big up yourself. Bad Grung. Big up yourself. Good night, Tina. Good night. Good night. Keisha Bailey, my namesake. Big up yourself. Present. Welcome to the Money Classroom. Big up Christine from Kingston 19. Glad to have you. And Carrie Ann, big up yourself. Tina from Florida, welcome, welcome, welcome to the Money Classroom. Jamaica, yes, Limitless. We have Karine, hello. Rochelle Bennett, looking good. Big up yourself, Rochelle, welcome. Yvonne from St. Andrew. Carrie Ann from Augustown, big up yourself. We also have Tammy from the British Virgin Islands, welcome. And Dwayne Park, Ward 21, big up yourself. Welcome to the Money Classroom. And your girl, Roxy from Bermuda, big up yourself, everyone. Make sure, pull up a seat, take out your money book. We are going into a lot tonight. We're talking about understanding a rights issue. The Jamaican stock market has been on fire this year. So many companies have come to raise capital and investors are pouring into these investments. We've had IPOs, APOs, and now we have a rights issue coming up in the market. So we need to talk about that. We need to really understand what is a rights issue, what should you be doing, because it is a little different compared to the other market issues that we've had. We have a very special guest with us inside the Money Classroom. We have Tyrone Wilson from iCreate. He's going to be sharing with us the information around his $425 million rights issue, which has a record date of September 26. We're going to have the discussion on that and go into all the details around the rights issue. And following our discussion with Tyrone, we're going to have JMMB. We brought an analyst to give that analytical perspective around the rights issue. So we're going to be talking about that as well. Clive Charlton from JMMB is standing by to come and talk with us. So join me on the money side. Let's go. Let's jump into our lesson. The lesson is here. Take out your money book, get ready. All right, so we are going to have a discussion first on what is a rights issue. We have to understand exactly what that is. So a rights issue simply is an invitation to existing shareholders. This is the main difference. The rights issue is an invitation to existing shareholders to purchase additional new shares in a company. The thing with the rights issue is that it gives existing shareholders securities that are called rights. So to participate in the rights issue, ideally you should already be a shareholder, because that's how it works. Very different from the IPOs and the APOs, where you don't necessarily need to be the share. Well, IPO you wouldn't be a shareholder because we're just coming to the market for the first time. But with the rights issue, it works very well when you are a shareholder before. And really, with the rights issue, it's the company coming to give shareholders an opportunity to increase their exposure, because they're able to get the stock usually at a discounted price to the current market price. That's usually the attractiveness of the rights issue. The company is coming to raise shares, but they're allowing, first dibs to the existing shareholders. So it's usually a very good move for that reason. Now, why rights issue? Companies most commonly issue a rights issue when they want to raise capital, and that capital can be used for many different purposes. It can be used to do an acquisition, it can be used to repay debt, and it can be used to do some form of expansion. Now, companies with healthy balance sheet might also raise money to do an acquisition of a competitor or to open new facilities. But think about it this way. When you see a company coming to the market with a rights issue, it's because something big happening, and the company needs capital to make that big thing a reality. That's it in essence. Now, how exactly do rights issue work? Remember, you need to be a shareholder to be able to participate. And as a shareholder, you have rights. You have 3 different rights to be exact. You can subscribe to the rights issue in full. You can ignore the rights, or sometimes, depending on the nature of the rights issue, you can assign your rights to someone else. So you have 3 rights, 3 options that are available to you. Of course, it's going to depend on the details of the specific rights issue, but typically these are the 3 options that are available to you. You subscribe, or you can say, you know what, I'm not going to participate, and you ignore your rights. Or you can assign the rights to someone else, depending on if that's available as part of the rights issue. Now, let's go through an example. Say you own 1,000 shares in Company X, and it's $5 a share. Company X comes and they say, well, we're planning to do a rights issue. We want $30 million. We're going to be issuing 10 million shares at a price of $3 each. Now, this is a 3 for 10 rights issue, meaning that for every 10 shares you hold, Company X is going to offer 3 additional shares to you at a discounted price of $3. So for every 10 shares of that 1,000, you're going to have the right to apply for 3 additional shares. Now, say you go with option 1 and you subscribe in full. When you do that, you're going to get 300 additional shares in Company X, but you're getting it at $3 each. That means you're buying 300 shares at $3 compared to the current market price, which I told you was $5. When you do that, the average cost of your shares comes out to about $4.53, because you have the original 1,000 at $5, but then you're getting 300 additional shares through the rights issue, and you're paying $3 for them. So this brings down the average cost of your shares, which is very good when you think about long-term investing. We always want to have an attractive purchase price for the shares. So this is good, because when you think about long-term, I'm getting a very good cost of my shares. And so when I think about wealth creation, it looks very good for me, because the average cost is lower because I participated in the rights issue. Now, say you go with option 2 and you say, you know what, I'm going to ignore my rights. I don't have no money right now. I just will let this one miss me. This is not usually recommended, because what happens, your ownership is going to be diluted. So say you had 1,000 shares, you don't participate in the rights issue, your ownership percentage is diluted. It gets less because other people going to take up the rights. Their shares are going to increase. So your pro rata share is going to be lower. That's what happens when you ignore the rights. And then the third option, when you assign your rights, and this depends on the terms of the rights issue, but if you're able to assign your rights, you do what's called a renounceable rights issue, where I can pass my rights to someone else. In this case, you can decide, okay, I can't partake right now, but there's an option for me to assign my rights to someone else. That's also an option as well when you think about the rights issue. So 3 things. You can subscribe in full, meaning you're going to be able to buy additional shares at a discounted price usually. Secondly, you can ignore the rights and say, I'm not going to participate. Thirdly, you could possibly, depending on the terms of the rights issue, you can assign your rights to someone else. This is called a renounceable rights issue. So we'd have to look for that in the terms of any prospectus around the rights issue. We look to see, is this a renounceable rights issue? Because if it is, we can assign our rights to another person. So as investors, important things we want to look at. We need to know the price. It is important. In addition to knowing the price, we need to know the purpose of the funds. What is the company going to be using this money for? Because what we want to ensure that the money, the proceeds of the rights issue are used towards expanding the company. They should be used towards creating additional profit, because we know profits move share price. When the profit grows, the share price of the company will follow. And that's what we want as investors, because that's how we make our money. The profits have to grow, so the share price will grow. So we want to look and dissect, what are the use of the proceeds? Is this going to add to the profitability of the company? If it will, and you say yes, then the rights issue makes sense, and it can therefore be a very good investment. So I want us to take this into context as we speak with Tyrone Wilson, founder and president and CEO of iCreate. He's going to be coming to discuss the rights issue coming to the market for his company. Bear these considerations in mind. Of course, you guys know, drop in your questions as they come, because we want to ensure everyone really, really understands what is entailed in a rights issue, what you should be looking out for. A lot of iCreate shareholders are here, so ask up your questions, right? That's what we're going to be doing. So there you have it. These are the points to consider when we're thinking about a rights issue. Now, let's get into our discussion with Tyrone Wilson, president, founder, and CEO of iCreate. Welcome to the Money Classroom.
Hi, Keisha. Nice classroom, and I need to attend more often.
Very glad to have you here. Very, very glad to have you here. So let us get into the details. Can you share with us? Let's do a history lesson around iCreate. For everyone here who may be new to your company, or there are shareholders who need a little refresher, let's give, a 1 or 2 minute history on iCreate.
All right, a quick 1 or 2 minute. Let's start from the beginning. So iCreate is started out as a digital and creative group, a digital and creative training institute. In 2018, we listed as a startup on the Jamaican Stock Exchange Junior Market. February 25, 2019, we became a listed entity. We raised 70 million in capital to pretty much expand our operations. Kingston and Montego Bay, we started doing creative courses and digital programs from the Digital Marketing Institute, and also through our partnership with the UCC. We, like any startup, we struggled, stumbled coming out of the blocks, had consecutive losses, trying to build out our locations, capitalize the business, and building out and acquiring new programs. Little after that came the global pandemic,
Yes.
So after putting out our first profitable quarter in 2020, Q1, January to March, we faced, the biggest pandemic in maybe like 100 years. So the we buckled down. We're one of the first companies to, issue a strategy or a communication in terms of COVID-19 to the market. We began shutting down our locations, fast tracking our digital transformation strategies, and just kept our heads down throughout the
Yeah.
pandemic. During that time, iCreate was long suffering in terms of its stock price reputation. We had a lot of turnovers, board team. We were making losses like crazy. Our stock price dipped at some point to 40 cents. We IPO'd at
Wow.
IPO'd at $1. But the pandemic showed us that diversification is critical in business. So we started to implement our diversification strategy and our new plan, which is to become a creative group of companies, a conglomerate for digital and creative entities. So that brought us into 2022. Late 2021, we started raising capital. My own investment holding company invested some capital. Then we raised capital from another entity. And, we started to put in the plan. We had a new chairperson, Arlene Martin, and a new board of director that was fully behind us and so forth. So we started implementing our strategy, which is evolving today into iCreate becoming a digital and creative conglomerate. Quick summary.
Nice. All right. So we see the move forward then, iCreate becoming a digital creative conglomerate. How does the rights issue play into that? What's the specific purpose of the rights issue?
So since last year, in looking around to see what is it that we can do to really create present iCreate in a new way in terms of its turnaround and being solid in terms of our foundation in becoming that digital and creative conglomerate. We needed a company that was already profitable, around for years, stable, good client base, good cash flows, and so forth. And that was Visual Vibe, right? So we negotiated, we've been negotiating with the owners, we negotiated for a while, we came to an agreement around the price and so forth, and pitched it to my board. They loved the idea, they saw the impact that it can have on the company and so forth, and we decided that we're going to acquire Visual Vibe. And through, we looked at a number of different ways with Visual Vibe. Before we looked at debt, the interest cost would be too high. We look at a mixture of debt and equity, 50% debt, 50% equity. Didn't make sense also for us when we analyzed it in terms of how we could put that cash flow to use as opposed to paying interest. And at the time, really, we weren't looking at 100% equity because the stock price was really at around 80 cents in 2021, late 2021. So we knew right then that that would have been tough for us. So we're looking at a number of options going into 2022, still looking at the debt, still looking at the equity, looking at a kind of pref share that is closer to equity, in terms of cumulative redeemable pref share. We're looking at options like that, and then iCreate stock price began moving because we outlined our strategy to our shareholders, our pivot and grow, the plan to become a digital and creative conglomerate. The market loved it, and iCreate, became today, still is, even with some decline, the best performing stock on the market in terms of percentage increase.
Yes, congrats for that.
Yes, thank you. So that impacted our decision in terms of the rights issue and making it 100% equity transaction. So right when the stock price began growing, moving from 80 cents at the beginning of the year to at the highest at one point almost $5, we knew we could manage that dilution at the time as opposed to before, right? So that's when we decided to move to a full equity transaction in terms of raising the funds because the market cap of the company moved to 1.4 billion. I think now it has dipped because the stock has moved from $4 to like $2.20 and so forth. But still very strong, and still the strategy we'll be using to acquire the company Visual Vibe.
I say limitless podcasting. They bought iCreate at $4. They're hoping for a big discount in the rights issue. So I take it to mean that they're planning to participate so they can average the cost lower. Very smart
Yes,
limitless
yes,
podcast.
yes. Yeah, definitely. I think all our shareholders are, waiting and excited to hear what price we will put in the rights is at. What I've long communicated to our shareholders is that there have been quite a number of them who have stick to with iCreate. When you
Yeah.
can imagine buying an IPO at $1 and then reaching 40 cents, and a lot of them stayed put. A lot of the key shareholders, a lot of the small retail shareholders, and we think now is the time to provide some reward for that type of patience with the company, especially being that we weren't able to distribute dividends and so forth in the past. So the team, myself, VM Wealth, the or legal team, PMH, board ourselves, it's fluid. We're at the stage now where we're ready to submit to the FSC and the JSC for approvals. But we're fluid, always constantly looking at the price. Create
Yeah.
price stock is one that moves, whether way up or way down, has moved way down much, but way up from time to time. So we have to almost watch it at the 11th hour to decide, what we're going to offer at that. But anything we're doing in terms of those prices and so forth is in the best interest of our shareholders.
Right. So let's talk about the proceeds, use of the proceeds, because that's gonna be key for persons as they think about, should I participate, should I not participate?
Yes.
So give us some more details around that.
Yeah, so we held our EGM in August, and we outlined that the proceeds from the rights issue will um, effectively fully about 95%, 90% going towards the acquisition of Visual Vibe, right? The remainder is around fees. We also have a bond with Sagicor that we got in 2020 when we're experiencing cash flow issues, around 24 million. We've since paid down interest, principal, and I think it's about 20 million that we're going to pay down to clear the bond. So we want to put that because with this rights issue, we're also cleaning up the balance sheet, right?
Nice.
The balance sheet has,
Important to point out that the cleaning up of the balance sheet.
yeah.
What else will transpire? So taking off the bond.
Yeah, we've done most of the heavy lifting since our investments that we got in 2018 in terms of paying up our taxes. We don't have any tax liability at this point in time as opposed to before. We had high payables, team members, creditors, suppliers who work with us. During that time when we were experiencing cash flow issues, we cleared all of those, and really we got current with the bond, which was critical. But now we want to clean that up some more, get that liability off. We might be looking at additional long-term loan options for expansion of Visual Vibe once we do acquire it, and then some of the rights issue proceeds is also working capital support. So from a cash flow perspective, we've been good since the beginning of the year. Way better than any other time in the history of the company. But we do know that with Visual Vibe, it's a competitive space we're heading into. iPrint, NOA, Caledonia Outdoors, some of those big companies like Visual Vibe who are in the space, and working capital and cash is critical to quickly move on locations, opportunities. Visual Vibe has some of the best locations, but we know that to stay on top of that, we need to be constantly looking at acquiring new ones and so forth. So
Nice.
the proceeds is, definitely having a healthier balance sheet, strong assets, income earning assets, um, you know, any loans, old loans to clear those, whether short or long term ones, and then ensuring that we have also a positive equity position, which we're pretty much on the borderline now, but we're gonna get there after this.
All right.
Yeah.
So we have a question coming in. Limitless Podcast says, Would you guys consider another rights issue when the junior market limit gets raised?
I mean, we are constantly looking at fundraising opportunities, and to answer that, we are on an aggressive M&A strategy at iCreate. We are through with trying to grow organically, right? We believe in the businesses that fall under iCreate, but we know the type of environment that we're in, correct, especially now, right? Interest rates, inflation, and so forth. It can have a big impact on just the organic growth. No, so we need stronger cushion. So we're looking at a few other businesses that we're going to acquire. We've also take part in a real estate opportunity to boost cash flow. And if we have a couple other businesses that we're looking to acquire to whether merge with Visual Vibe or form a different division under iCreate. So fundraising is going to be a critical thing for us, I would say, over the next 3 to 5 years at iCreate. So whether it's a rights issue, an APO, pref share debt, or just a loan, we're looking at a number of opportunities at the company. So to answer Limitless, we're not ruling out any options at this point.
Right. But I'm hearing lots of growth coming, lots of expansion, and so need for capital will be there. Yeah. Of course, we're going to explore all the different capital raising. Tyrone spoke about debt, preference shares, APOs, and having all of those coming at different points in time, or exploring those depending on what's feasible at that point in time. So let's go into some specifics, as much as you can share around the rights issue. When was a record date, for example? We can go there, as much of the details that you're able to share at this time.
So the record date has passed. It was September 26th.
Tomorrow. Well,
so it has. Yeah, it's tomorrow, but I think it's since Friday.
Okay.
But it was very, I would say, it was very active. There's a number of new shareholders that have joined in since we've announced the record date. So it shows that individuals are excited to take part in this rights issue. It's a renounceable rights issue. So the public will get an opportunity to get in if shareholders didn't take up their rights and so forth. So the September 26th date has passed, and we're pleased with the activities that happened during that time.
So good thing you had mentioned here, because I spoke about a renounceable rights issue, meaning you can assign your rights to other persons if you don't take it up. So there is opportunity then for persons who don't currently own iCreate shares to still participate in the rights issue.
For sure. And hopefully the public gets to participate, I would say, mainly because our IPO was a small one, 70 million. So when we listed, we had about 800 shareholders. It has since increased to about 2,400.
Wow.
But we definitely want to still increase our shareholder base. We love a diverse and active and vocal stock market. I am big on that. Folks would know I'm always, communicating with our shareholders within the constraints of the market on Twitter, my platform that I use, and so forth. So we want to increase our shareholder base. So hopefully the public gets to participate at some point.
All right. So that's coming in. It's very good then that it's renounceable, because persons can participate. Don't think you need to be an existing shareholder to be able to participate. Of course, we're going to dig through the details of the prospectus once that becomes available to see the nitty-gritty details around the future projection. But some of them are already there. There's an article from the Observer that spoke to a lot of the projections around the combined entity with Visual Vibe and what those profitability numbers would look like. I'll start a bit going in. I see numbers going up over 100%. I see net profit growing by $1 million. Do you want to probably share some of those numbers around what the future growth projections would look like with Visual Vibe?
Yeah. So Visual Vibe, as I mentioned before, is a very solid company. It's a company that could have listed on its own, right, as an IPO. We spent a fair amount of time analyzing the company, doing our due diligence. We did our own independent valuation with one of the top auditing consulting companies who did a valuation of Visual Vibe for us. We went into it, and what I can say is that this year iCreate or Q2, we've moved to about 80 million in revenue and 16.5 million thereabout in net profits. This is exponential growth compared to any prior period in iCreate's history. We just to put it in context, the year before we finished with revenues, I believe, at about 42 million. So in half year, we have doubled our full year revenue, and the losses was enormous. For last year was about the same 48 million in losses. A tough COVID period, and now 16 million in net profit. So we're talking about a substantial enough turnaround at iCreate by itself, right? Becoming that digital and creative conglomerate. Now, if we had included Visual Vibe in that Q2 half year performance, it would be, I don't have the numbers in front of them, but I believe it would be about 160 million.
Yes, they're
about 150 something, 160 million in revenues, and about 23 million in net profits, right?
Right.
No, it's way more than that. Net profits would be about 35 million, 36 million thereabout, right? Had we included Visual Vibe. And on top of that, it would put the company in a position to pay dividends, right? The company,
which is good because investors love dividends.
Investors love dividends. Only about 10% of Visual Vibe sales is in receivables. Less than 10, maybe 8.5%. So we're talking about a very stable, strong company. Remained the same during COVID, 2020, 2021. Continue to show great prospects for growth, and with the right, well, let me not say right, because they've done a really good job, but with the additional resources, team resources, HR resources, and so forth, it will really bode well for Visual Vibe in terms of its growth and so forth. And we're talking about adding more locations, looking at additions to the company. We're actively discussing with another entity now that will really change what the value proposition is, or expand the value proposition for Visual Vibe. That should be coming out very soon. So we're talking about a business that complements iCreate also. So not only from a financial perspective, but in terms of it's the same type of skill sets. So it's not that the learning curve is high in terms of understanding how to manage, lead, grow Visual Vibe. It's the same type of digital creative field that it exists in. Talking about the technical folks, the creative folks, the sales, finance, pretty much the same thing. So it's a quick merger of our minds and resources and talents that we can use to really begin to hit the ground running.
Nice. And a question is coming in from Jason. He's saying, are you planning to spin off Visual Vibe in the near future? I mean, would ever talk about the acquisition yet, Jason? Are you already looking at spin off?
Again, nothing is off the table for us. I think wherever there's an opportunity to increase shareholder value, we look at it. But what I know is that we won't do or make a decision that will hurt any one entity just to benefit another. So at the end of the day, we want iCreate to be a digital and creative conglomerate. Visual Vibe is the strongest addition to that mission right now. So we're not necessarily looking to spin that off at this point.
And spin it off. Jason looking at some aggressive capital market transactions.
And I would say to Jason that to be honest, it's something we considered when we're looking at it, right? We looked at all options, but we believe iCreate growing into a digital and creative conglomerate first is critical.
Nice. And we're going to leave it there. That's where we're leaving it for today. Thank you for joining us, Tyrone Wilson, founder, president, and CEO of iCreate. Big up yourself. Thank you very much for being here.
So, JMMB, how can I watch and hear what?
I'm going to put you backstage for you to listen.
Hear what JMMB is saying.
Yes, JMMB coming on. I may bring you back if you have anything you want to add as they chime in.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Tyrone.
Thank you.
All right. So up next, we have JMMB inside the Money Classroom for our show and tell segment. It's now time for show and tell. All right, the show and tell segment is brought to you by our sponsor, JMMB Group, and we're happy tonight to be joined by Clive Charlton, equities trader for JMMB. Welcome to the Money Classroom, Clive. Big up yourself.
Thanks for having me, Keisha. It's first time on your program.
Yes, but we've met otherwise. Very glad to have you here in this context. So, Clive, we are going to be talking about the iCreate's rights issue, and you're going to be sharing your analytical insights around that as an equities analyst. So let us start off first by you sharing, I guess, from a financial perspective, what's your historical take around iCreate?
Okay. Well, first and foremost, JMMB, we're not speculative, and we don't encourage our clients to be speculative. Right. So we always tell our clients to approach it from a portfolio perspective, and you need a diversified portfolio. Now, iCreate is one of the first companies to be listed that is engaged directly in learning, especially applying technology in this new era. The sad thing, though, is that on the cusp of them coming public, the pandemic started. And much of their focus, their methodology would be in-class learning. So there would have to be a significant shift in terms of the application of remote technology. So that impacted them. And just like it did many other companies. But their turnaround time, though, is impressive. And their strategy, first and foremost, we talk from a portfolio perspective. We must have a diversified portfolio. So you have assets that are fairly stable right across the sector, and you put a little risk in your portfolio. Why? Because you're looking long-term. And the riskier asset is, if it has good management, is a potentially greater return you'll have. So what impressed us is that the management of iCreate, young and vibrant and more understanding of technology than perhaps the older generation, right? And older meaning anybody over 30. Over 30.
The older generation, yes.
Yes, right. So the quick turnaround, the creative thinking, I tell my clients and my advisors to think first on the quality of management. It has an impressive board. It has an initial investor, Sagicor, which has really been there. The support was always there, continuously through the thick and the thin. That was critically important. But it had a very creative management that was looking at new ways. It had obviously a stream of potential investors that believed in the company and that was willing to put more capital in the company. And a company that has gone through this, I expect that going forward, they are more in a position psychologically in terms of the technical expertise that they've gained through the rough times, in terms of the capital they have raised, and the what should I say, the integrity that they'll put in the management of this new capital. Usually these companies have a better prospect for growth in the future. So we usually look at the qualitative aspect. Right?
So the qualitative, let's probably summarize there so everyone can digest it. So qualitative, we've looked at strength of management to navigate what you call unprecedented times.
Yes, unprecedented crisis. Yes.
You're saying then if management was able to navigate that time successfully, usually augurs well for what they will do in the future.
Especially as the economy improves and other macroeconomic variable is conducive to economic growth. Yes. Right. So we really congratulate the management of iCreate.
I see Tyrone looking to come on. I'm gonna bring him back on moment for the periodically to probably share in his view. I think this should be interesting.
No, I just want to say I need to bring Clive on the roadshow. That's all I'm saying. I appreciate that.
Yes, but interestingly, JMMB, we always tell our clients to approach one. This money quick thing doesn't work, right? You have to have a plan. You have to have perseverance and tenacity, right? And this is what iCreate, Tyrone has, right? It's the first company. He was really pioneering on the stock market to have listed this company. Now, we see several others who perhaps use his company's trial and tribulation, to come on the market. You see? So just recently, 2 more came on after iCreate. So iCreate really set the path. That's important, right? In terms of the diversification strategy, it's very impressive. In fact, I had a few little things here.
But you have slides to bring up?
No, I don't have slides.
Oh, all right. Walk through your points.
But we have some really good points. We'll look at initiatives for 2022, right? The expansion of generic revenue base. Even though he said that, they're seeking diversification and not looking to grow, but generically, but the fact is that there's still opportunity in that area, and he already has some expertise and knowledge in that area. That's one, right? Of course, the significant jump in revenue now is through mergers and acquisition, greenfield, and that's perfectly fine, right? As well as now judicious management of operating expenses, right? This is where quality of management comes in. And when you have been through the fire, I think you will know how to contain your cost, and to manage judiciously these cost structures going into the future. So that is significantly important, right? And I can't overemphasize that more. People don't understand quality of management is important. That is a precursor to anything else. We tend to look at the end results, profit per share, but quality of management is important. Right. And the turnaround is impressive, right? So this capital is being raised. How it generates further revenue and value is significantly important, right? Already, they'll be acquiring a company that is already fairly new in breaking through the technological space in Jamaica. That's where value is now the fourth, what they call it, the fourth revolution, like industrial revolution.
Yes.
Exactly. Exactly. You see? So that is being broken through on 2 ends right now. And then we look at the opportunities now. Apart from diversification through M&A, which is mergers and acquisition, the renewed opportunities with the ending, that is the tail end of the pandemic. So what opportunities will come out of it? We may see more opportunities of companies training staff through iCreate. That's one, you see. We may also see more general enrollment as school season starts, and the new school terms opens up. Why? I think schools and parents will need to facilitate pulling the children. 2 years of learning loss, they'll need to pull the children back up to scratch. And
especially in the digital field.
Have
Exactly.
you seen any of that transpire, Tyrone, so far in the numbers? What you can share? Have you seen?
No, for sure. It's across the board. So younger individuals, sixth form, college, corporate entities at a higher level. Like we've been working with Unicoma in St. Lucia, Caribbean Airlines in Trinidad, Jamaica Tourist Board, Grace Kennedy. A number of companies who have really been sending their team members to get training in digital. So it has been growing. And the $80 million revenue that we spoke about for half year, even though, grow through the diversification strategies, the Institute still led the way in terms of growth, which is currently the core business.
That's time to get a well then, Clive, based on the analysis.
Exactly.
Clive is on the point. Yes, it's right.
Yes. You see, so apart from creating opportunities through the general business line, which is offering these technical digital services to, all working persons, companies, etc., there's an opportunity of the school children catching up. 2 years of learning loss is significant, and the physical attendance at many high schools is not sufficient. You see, so this is where now the digital opportunity or media will come in again, and iCreate is well positioned for that already. Right, just that alone, and that will sell to parents. They are desperate for their children to catch up. Right, so that is an opportunity. And of course, we look at joint venture collaborations. Right, joint venture separate from this. Right, there's a lot of opportunity in learning in all sorts of digital services. But the fact is that right now the global economy is going through a constraint. Interest rate is going up. If the US just increased their interest rate again, base rate, chances are, let's see what happens. But there's some interesting news in the financial newspaper that the BOJ governor has highlighted too, right? So we can look and see where we go. But as the economy improves, and Jamaican economy, based on where we're coming from 30 years ago, I think we're doing better than many first world economies, you see? So it means then that there's renewed opportunity again for growth. There's nothing to stop them. And this is why I start back again at the creativity and the resilience of management, right?
All right.
So improve revenue stream. And then I believe that if this works out well by June, 6 months, by December, I would have to give them at least a year and a half till next June or next December, a year and a half. Because the thing is, we believe that money just drop out of the air. No, I mean, if you look at the market, how people have been running down.
So you're saying then for the growth plans, we need to give it at least until December 2023.
I would say 2 years. I would give
or
them
June 2024.
I would give 2.5 years reasonably, but the market is not waiting on that. Once the market sees some results or believe that there's an inclination of improvement, the market is going to move the price. That's how the market has been. There's a lot of capital in this stock market, in the equities market, and people are looking for somewhere to put it.
Yeah. That we know for sure. There is a lot of dry powder there, and the money is going to flow to areas that are companies that are growing profits, companies that have these expansion plans that will flow to the bottom line, because that's what we need. Right. How will you, I guess, make the connection then between the rights issue and the bottom line for iCreate?
I don't think Keisha wanted to leave.
I'm gonna jump out like you.
Right, yes.
Take care, Tyrone. You take care. Good to meet you, brother.
Much appreciated, Keisha. Happy to be on the program and looking forward to it again.
All right, take care.
Take care, bro. Take care. Good. And keep doing the good work. Okay.
Yes.
Right. Yes, Keisha. What was the question? Repeat that, please.
So link for me the rights issue and the future profitability of the company.
Okay. Right. Now, this rights issue, according to report, they are seeking to raise $425 million. It's small in the space of what we generally raise, but it's large for this company and the size, right? Now, of course, a good deal of it will be the acquisition. So a little bit of cash will be left as working capital, right?
Yes.
We'll see how that pan out. Yeah. Now, we do not yet have the details to give any meaningful projections, but what I'm using now is the improvement just in the last 2 quarters, right? And we ask ourselves, how does a company turn around? Well, look at SOS, the significant turnaround, in a short period. Look at CPJ, the significant turnaround. So once the base is satisfied, then it can turn around. But looking at the financial results is important, When you look at movement in assets, especially current assets, when you look at the capital base and the improvement in that and the profitability, if this is sustainable, then the company can do well going into the future. Now, what is the meaning? The capital raise is really for acquisition. Yeah?
Yes.
And there's a little bit of money left for cash flow, right? I suspect and I would believe that the company to be taken over already has its structure in place, we have not seen that financials, but I'm sure they have their cash flow statement, operating, not just operating profit and net profit, but operating cash flow, which is significant. That's the cash that generate within the business itself, right? So that should be, hopefully that can sustain the company, or is able to move the company forward. It's a very profitable company already.
Yes.
So I believe that really would be an additional appendage to iCreate's total revenue. If they are taking over the company's entirety, how will it be recorded on the financials? We might say a merger of all, the revenue, all critical valuation.
That's consolidation.
Consolidation, yes. That's the word. Yes, that's the word. You're the accountant, right? The consolidation.
The investment strategies.
Exactly. So you should see then a significant improvement. Based on some of the figures I've seen, you should see an improvement in the financials of iCreate. But most importantly, what the capital will do, what the additional business lines will do for diversification. So that augurs well for investors, because within this company itself, it is diversifying its revenue stream. If this is quite successful and this new entity is able to generate not just profitability, but cash flow for the entire entity, then it means then that it can go into new area. As I said, new joint venture collaboration, as he says, more mergers and acquisitions. But my emphasis really is on what obtains now, just based on iCreate's financial statement as at June gone, which doesn't include the new acquisition, is right. One, the improvement in significant metrics, assets, profitability, etc., cost containment, that is important, right? And then the judicious management of operating expenses, that is what will augurs well going into the future for iCreate itself and then for this new entity.
All right, so that's looking good then. And of course, can persons possibly, once we have approval, can persons possibly partake in this rights issue through the JMMB platform?
Usually, yes, they can once we have permission. We have to get permission from the lead broker, as to whether it's a legal issue, right? As to whether we can put it on our platform. Invariably, they say yes. Why? For two reasons. You want as much persons to have access to the application process. That's one. And I can tell you that every single IPO and APO, in terms of application, JMMB, at sometimes up to 30% of the applications for APOs, particularly, right, the most recent ones. And I can tell you that the aftermarket post-listing of these shares, JMMB can take up in terms of perhaps 50% of the orders as well as the volume that trades post listing, that is post APO, post IPO. So it augurs well for any company that is coming public, for the lead broker as well as for the company itself to include JMMB. We have a very broad market reach, especially for the small investors, and technology really lowers that cost. Wigton was a trauma to many persons, and JMMB was left holding a heavy bag, but we did it. We were very supportive of companies in Jamaica.
Nice. So Natalie is asking, who is the lead broker?
Victor VM Investment,
right.
VM Wealth Management Limited, Investment Management Limited, VMIL, the listed entity.
All right. Well, there we have it, a very detailed analysis on iCreate, on the future projections of the company as you see it, and also around the use of the proceeds with the rights issue. Thank you very much, Clive. That was very insightful as always. Happy to have JMMB and their insights inside the money classroom to help persons to implement on the knowledge they would have learned. So today we would have gone through what's a rights issue, how to look at rights issue, how do you actually invest during our rights issue. We brought on Tyrone Wilson, founder, president, and CEO of iCreate, to talk with us about his upcoming rights issue. And then we have you here, Clive, talking with us, giving us the analytical perspective around the rights issue. Thank you so much for that.
And you're welcome. And can I make one statement? The record date, the record date is tomorrow. What is the record date? The directors usually of a company, when they are declaring dividend, where they are having rights issue, as in this case, bonus issue, or anything, the directors will set a date that this is when we will do this thing, right? This is when dividend is paid. This is when we'll have the rights issue in this case. Because of a T+2 settlement period, that is, if you buy the stock today, let's assume today is Monday, right? If you buy the stock today, it settles Wednesday. Transaction day +2, T+2, it settles Wednesday. So because of that now, you now have to count back. If the action of the rights issue is Monday, the JC counts back 2 days. So the X date was Friday. X meaning you're excluded if you buy the stock on that day.
Yes.
Right. So you'd have to have the stock on at least the day before. So when we say X date, we mean excluded, whether it's dividend, APO, IPO, rights issue, X date. Remember that, right? And it's structured from the settlement period of T+2. If you had bought the stock on Thursday, which is T day, transaction day, then Friday, Monday, T+2. Monday would be the record date. So we count back again and say, you have to buy it on Thursday. If you buy it on Thursday, you'll be on record on tomorrow, Monday. Yeah, and you're entitled to the rights issue. If you buy it on Friday, you're excluded, because if you count T+2, you'd land on Tuesday, right?
Right.
So but however, so you'd have to have had the stock before. Hopefully, many of you had the stock before, even 1 unit, and that would open me up to.
But I think Tyrone had mentioned it's going to be a renounceable rights issue, meaning then that there may be shares left over, it's a last come, whoever the left back shares would be available to persons who want to take them up, because it's going to be renounceable.
Good. So everyone has an opportunity then.
Great. Right, but some will be later than others. The X date would have been the day to buy it last Thursday, but if it missed you and you still want to participate, you can participate because it's renounceable.
Exactly.
All right, so thank you very much for that, Clive. Big up yourself. Always great to have you inside the money classroom. Hope to see you again.
And continue a good job.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
All right, so there we have it, guys. We've went through all the details around rights issue. Think about it. Make your own independent investment decision. Of course, we've provided the information. We've provided you with the knowledge. However, you need to make sure you implement. JMMB has given you a lot of analytical insights for you to consider and to determine if, yes, do I really want to participate in this rights issue or not. Remember, sign up for my newsletter. It's profitjumpstarter.com/newsletter. When you sign up for the newsletter, you get my free Multiply Your Money guide. Inside this guide, you're going to get all the tools and tips to eliminate all your money struggles and to build wealth faster. So if that's what you're looking for, make sure you subscribe to our newsletter to get that free Multiply Your Money guide. Of course, check me out on all the social media channels, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, we're there as Profit Jumpstart, and on Twitter, we're Profit Jumpstart. Also, knowledge is nothing without execution. Use the knowledge you have learned this week to implement and make sure you can build wealth faster. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, I'll see you. Bye.